My name is Stephen Chung. Welcome to Chung's Corner. In my previous posting, I have mentioned that a living organism is defined as a physical object that can self-maintain and self-reproduce. We can actually split self-maintenance into two parts. Part one is to get energy. It is obvious that in order to maintain itself, a living organism needs to do work for repair or some other thing. So energy is required. The second one is in order to self-maintain, an organism needs to defend itself, to prevent itself from getting hurt in the first place. So actually, to survive, a living organism needs to do three things: to get energy, to self-defend, and also to reproduce. And these three things, these three activities are universal, are common to every living organism on our planet. So, the first part is to get energy. It is quite obvious that we need energy for many other things besides to self-repair and also to defend ourselves. You also need energy to make new molecules for growth and also to reproduce. So every living organism needs energy and uninterrupted energy supplies. Anytime the energy is cut off from a living organism, it will die almost right away. Okay, so getting energy is the most vital part if an organism is to survive. And also it is the part that most of the hurtful behavior happen in the living kingdom. So how does a living organism get its energy? Well, we must first realize that our planets, there are a lot of different forms of energy available. For example, we have sunlight, we have wind power, we have hydropower, and also there are many compounds, chemical compounds that contain quite a bit of energy. If you can oxidize this kind of compounds, you can get energy. And in fact, it comes the first type of living organism evolved on our planet. Those organisms could tap into the high energy compounds they found in their environment, such as hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen gas, ammonium, or ferrous oxide. By oxidizing this kind of compound, they can, by controlling the process, they can tap into the energy released from the oxidation of this compound to be used in different way, like making more compounds that are energy rich and use it for energy source, etc. So this kind of organism that can make use of the compounds in their environment is the first type of organism. They are autotroph, meaning they can produce their own energy, and in this case by oxidizing energy rich compound they found in their environment. So later it comes the second kind of autotroph. These are the green plants. Green plants get their energy from their environment in the opposite way to the first type that use the energy rich compound. They as an opposite, they use the molecules with no energy at all, such as carbon dioxide and water molecule, they combine these two molecules having very little energy into energy-rich compound, a sugar, and then use a sugar as the energy source. Obviously, this process would violate the first law of thermodynamics, that is, energy cannot be created. Okay, so in order to drive this process, they use the sunlight and certain part of the sunlight spectrum to use that energy to drive the chemical reaction. So there are two types of autotroph. Autotroph that oxidize energy-rich compound into and get the energy, and autotroph like green plant that use sunlight to make energy-rich molecules from carbon dioxide and water, which have no energy. Okay, so regardless of what kind of autotroph they are, in order for them to get the energy they need to get into a position, a favorable position, so that they can tap into the resource in the environment that would allow them to make energy. So for the first type of energy autotroph, they need to get into a position where the, say, hydrogen sulfide is found, or the ferrous oxide is found. Or for the green plant, they need to get close to the water, have a constant water supply, and also they need sunlight. So regardless of which type of autotroph they are, they need to compete with each other for the limited amount of resource in their environment. And to compete successfully would ensure their survival. And the one that failed to compete will die. Very simple. Okay? So to compete means to fight among themselves, and in order to get the resource, and to fight is to hurt the other organism, often of the same kind. So the first part of the survival activity to get the energy is cruel, even for the autotroph. And there are second kind of organism in terms of getting their energy. The first is the autotroph. The second is called the heterotroph. Heterotroph cannot use the energy available in the environment. They must get the energy source from the ready-made compounds. And this compound can only be found in the body of another organism, whether it's a dead organism or a living organism, alive. Okay? And there are different kinds of heterotrophs. Some specialize in feeding on the dead body, and some specialize in the living ones. And some specialize in eating the autotroph, and some specialize in eating the heterotroph. And also the third kind is they can eat both type of living organism, such as a human. We eat both the autotroph, the plants, and also the heterotroph, like the chickens. Okay? So to get energy is a crucial part of the survival. Among the heterotroph, they are either the parasites or either the predators. And heterotroph include the viruses, bacteria, fungi, and also every kind of animals. So it depends on the way they get the energy. Predatory organisms are especially cruel. They are animal, and they would the way they get the energy source involve killing the other living organism, and it gives the phrase called nature red in tooth and claw. You can imagine it's quite graphic. So this is the first part, to get the energy regardless of whether it's heterotroph or autotroph. It involves competition and certain degree of cruelty. So the second part of the survival activity is to self-defend. It is rather obvious that every living organism requires to defend themselves because their body will be the food for some other organism. Some other organism, in order to survive, would like to attack them, either eat them or get into their body, okay, to live inside. So they need a certain means to defend itself. Again, to defend itself meaning to fend off the attacker, and sometimes it involves fighting, and fighting always involves hurting the attacker. So the second part of the survival activity to self-defend is also by nature harmful, inherently harmful. The third is reproduction. Well, reproduction among the lower animal usually doesn't involve too much hurting the other party, but among mammals it's quite obvious, because among mammals the males are required to compete with each other in order before they can mate with a female. So to compete to mate often involve fighting. Sometimes in fighting they would incur very serious injury. In the fighting, each part of the animal that take part in the fighting, in the competition, would in turn to hurt the other part. So the three survival activity is to obtain energy, to self-defend, and also to reproduce, all require certain part of hurtful behavior. Okay, in a world driven by survival, the world is often filled with fighting, and the game of survival is always involve fighting, and there is no exception, whether it's in the animal kingdom, whether it's among the plants, or whether it's among the microorganisms in their world. You can always fighting. So survival is self-preservation. In order to self-preserve, you need to do everything possible to serve the interest of the organism doing it. And the interest of the organism doing it often leads to hurt the other organism, whether in getting the energy source or self-defense, or sometimes in reproduction. So this is the conclusion of this part, and all the material in the discussion so far is covered in part 1 of my book, The Quest of an Unlikely Fixer. You can read the book, and there is a part that covers the story of an evil winter melon. It is a plant, but it can be very evil. Want to find out? The best is to read it, okay? So in my next posting, I'm going to discuss the 3 survival activities. Although they collectively serve the interest of a species to ensure the species would survive, but they have different agenda. The different activity, like the self-defense to get the energy, will be different from serving the species. Okay, so the two interests may not always be the same, and often they will contradict one another. They will have conflict. For instance, my interest as Stephen Chang would be in conflict with the interest of Homo sapien, which is the name of our species. Want to find out? Please turn it next time. Okay, so far, thank you very much for watching, and take good care of yourself and love yourself. Bye-bye.